It's the reunion show with Billy Eccles Richter. Tonight's guests are Bryant Phelps and Alex Williams. Musical guests, the Bill Roberts one-man band. And now, here's your host, Billy Eccles Richter.
Looking forward to tonight, have great guests tonight, but before we have great guests, we have to have fabulous music. So I want to say thank you because Bill Roberts, the one-man band, has been here all 4 of the reunion shows doing amazing things, and throughout the whole time, he has just been entertaining us and I would say sometimes even inspiring us a little bit. So once again tonight, would you welcome Bill Roberts, the one-man band.
It's great to be with you. This has been a lot of fun and a challenge, and I appreciate Billy asking me to do this. I mean, it gave me, I'm trying to figure out what instrument should I play each week, and I got to thinking, well, since we're using this format of late night TV, I thought I'm going to play 2 instruments that actually I was inspired to learn to play because of late night television. One of those is the trumpet. Now, I was inspired by people when I was a kid, like New Orleans trumpet players, Louis Armstrong and Al Hurt. I was also inspired by Herb Alpert and Miles Davis. But the person that I was most inspired by was one that occasionally my dad would let me stay up late at night and watch. His first name was Carl. So that's a good trivia question someday. But you probably know him better as the late night show host with Johnny Carson. The band leader for that was Doc Severinsen for over 30 years. Doc Severinsen was an amazing trumpet player, still around today, 97 years old. And so I learned to play trumpet especially because of him. And not that long ago, the original band leader for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is a Juilliard-trained, fabulous pianist and singer. But the secondary or tertiary instrument that he played was one that he would walk around the halls of Juilliard and play, and partially to annoy, I think, his professors, and that is the melodica. And a lot of people were not familiar with the melodica until late night television, and the great New Orleans musician John Batiste started playing it. So I'm going to start by playing on this instrument. I'm going to switch to that one and then switch back to that one, and I'm going to attempt to play a medley that I put together of 3 songs. Now these are songs or hymns that are actually in our United Methodist hymnal. Grace Avenue is 25 years old. Our United Methodist hymnal is only 35 years old. The 3 hymns that I'm going to play are in that hymnal, but they are much older. And my prayer is that they will be played much longer past the hymnal. I know for a fact, because I've been at Grace Avenue long enough, I know that all 3 of these hymns have been sung in this room. They've been sung in the sanctuary. They've been sung in Tom Gray's Hall. They've been sung in the music suite. They've been sung in the gathering room upstairs. They've been sung in the narthex of the sanctuary, and they've been sung in the Learning Center lobby. They've been sung at not just Methodist churches, but at lots of churches in the Protestant denomination for a very, very long time, if not churches all over the world. And I have no doubt that they've been sung at Ridgewood United Methodist Church, where Alex is pastor. And I know for a fact that they've been sung at Hamilton Park United Methodist Church, where Bryant is a pastor. My hope is that they will be sung for eternity.
Thank you, Bill. You amaze us all the time. And, I want to say a word of appreciation to Laurie Hanson Roberts, who gets to live with that all the time in her regular environment. And so, Laurie, we appreciate you as well. I really look forward to tonight's conversation because with us tonight are two people who I think are some of the up-and-comers in terms of ministry in the United Methodist Church, not just in the North Texas area, but really all across our denomination. Both of our guests tonight are people who are two of the most strategic thinkers. I've had some of the best conversations I've had throughout my ministry with both of them tonight, and I'm very excited about the conversation we will have this evening. So I'm going to bring them out one at a time, as has been our custom, and get to meet each one of them, catch up a little bit about what's going on with them. And so my first guest tonight is the new pastor of the Hamilton Park United Methodist Church in Dallas, Texas, and we are so thrilled tonight to welcome him. Would you welcome the Reverend Bryant Phelps? Hey, man.
Hello.
How's it
Hello.
going?
So far, so good.
Well, we're humming. There we go. You got a new gig.
Yes.
How's that going?
Very busy.
Yeah, very busy?
Yeah, but it's good.
What's the best thing about being the pastor at Hamilton Park United Methodist Church?
Parking under a tree in the dead of summer.
Is that right? They have a spot for you, huh?
Absolutely. But no, I don't know. Everything's been good. Everything's been great. So I'm being spoiled.
Okay. Well, Hamilton Park's quite a historic church.
Indeed.
In terms of Dallas. I mean, we that are out here in the suburbs, don't think as much about all the rich history and things that go on in Dallas. So give everybody a quick description of the historic nature of Hamilton Park United Methodist Church.
So Hamilton Park United Methodist Church was founded in 1957 on August 4th, and one of this nation's one of the fewest and rarest communities like it throughout the nation. It was designed strategically for African Americans throughout the southern part of Dallas County. A lot of black communities were being bombed, and when Love Field Airport expanded, because of eminent domain, a lot of those homes owned by black persons were destroyed. And so there were a few entities, including the Black Chamber of Commerce and some wonderful friends, white friends, who donated money to buy a certain part of land, a certain parcel of land in North Dallas, and they founded Hamilton Park for those persons. And so in 1957, St. Paul United Methodist Church and Highland Park came up with a plan to start Hamilton Park United Methodist Church.
Yeah.
And its first pastor was Dr. I.B. Loud, and its second pastor was Dr. Zan Holmes.
Right. And now?
The pastor is Bryant
Phelps. How about that? That's a great kind of thing. Life is busy for you. You and Courtney have a daughter.
Yes, indeed.
And she's how old now?
4 going on 13.
I've got a grandson that's 4, so I know exactly what this is about. So
they said 2 was terrible. I don't know. I think 3 was kind of rough, but 4.
4. Yeah.
4 is something special.
Yeah, they have a vocabulary all their own at 4. It's you want them to be
whatever
smart.
She says, she didn't learn it from me.
So what's she like? What is she into? What are the things she can?
Everything. Haley is into a lot of singing. She likes singing.
Oh, good.
Sing 2 is her favorite thing right now.
Okay.
And thanks to Josh Manning, the Trolls movie. Where is Josh?
He's here. He's
the Trolls. Yeah. So that's her thing right now. All of the princesses, all of Disney princesses, every last one of them.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So that's what she's up to.
Every last Disney princess.
Every last one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also have a granddaughter that lives in Arizona, and I think she's into. We visited them not long ago, and I think every Disney princess came up. So
yeah, we have to go to Disney like every year. That's what she wants to do. I don't know where she's going to find the money though.
Well.
Yeah.
She'll find it somewhere or another. Hey, Courtney's doing well.
She's well. Courtney is well.
Yeah.
Still running things.
And she's still okay.
Oh,
that's a good thing as well.
She's the connector in chief.
Yep. So, Bryant, one of the things that we do at these shows for a few minutes is just I've said to people When we first concocted this idea, people were like, oh, we should have them come out and preach. And then we got into the logistics of that, and where would they preach? Would they be in the modern service? Would they be in the sanctuary? Would they be where would they be? All of these different kinds of things. We have multiple services. How would we make all that work? And then it dawned on me, people can watch you preach anytime, right? So tell people how they can find the way to watch you preach.
Google Hamilton Park, wherever.
And the Hamilton Park website will have your sermons now.
www.theparkumc.org.
Theparkumc.org. And you can hear Bryant preach. So I said to people, look, we can watch him preach anytime we want. Let's spend some time visiting and catching up on what's going on. So we do a little segment here that's called How It Got Started and How It's Going Now. And so there's some different things that are going on. So when I was first introduced to you, and I said, Bryant Phelps, who is he? And the first thing that somebody said to me was, show me the picture, Preston. He's a Morehouse man. He's a Morehouse man. And so I didn't know at that moment. I had heard of Morehouse College, but tell the folks here, what is a Morehouse man?
Everything that's on that card right there. Well-balanced, well-dressed, well-read, well-spoken, well-traveled.
Yep.
Yes, it's the home of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia.
And so you went to college in Atlanta, Georgia,
Absolutely.
But you grew up in West Texas.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but so how did you get to Morehouse?
I was ready to leave West Texas.
And so you went and got everything that a Morehouse man should be, all of those things that are there.
Indeed.
Right? Yeah, and turned out great. And then that was where you met Courtney, right?
Indeed. She was right next door
She
at
was
Spelman College.
at Spelman. So if you don't know the story, Morehouse and Spelman are these. Is Morehouse all male still?
Yes.
And Spelman is still all female.
Correct. There are only two historically black colleges specifically for women, Spelman College and Bennett College, which is a Methodist-affiliated school, and Morehouse College is the nation's only historically black college for men.
Okay. So you got a great education. What did you study at Morehouse, by the way?
Business administration, marketing.
Business administration,
Minor in
marketing.
religion.
Okay. But then somehow you felt a call to ministry.
Oh, yeah. Very.
And was the call to ministry there, or was it when you came back here?
I was a child.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I knew that I was called around 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you kind of went in from there. But you went to Morehouse. You were in Atlanta. You'd left West Texas. You could have stayed there and gone to Candler School of Theology, but you chose instead to come back to
Dallas
and go to Perkins. We got a picture of that. I think you went to Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at
And look at the people you started hanging out with.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So tell me about coming back to Perkins. What was that like? And why you made that choice when you looked at some other things?
I wanted to go to Candler, and then the plan turned into Union, and so I applied to Perkins because at that time I wasn't convinced I wanted to go to seminary right away. So I went back home for a year and expected to work in oil, and that didn't work out. So I had this acceptance into Perkins.
Okay.
And so I went the next year in 2014. I graduated from Morehouse in 2013.
Okay.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you had a good experience at Perkins.
I did.
Is that where you met Joshua?
I did.
Wow. So sometimes amazing who you come across.
Indeed.
God puts in your way. So that's a good kind of thing. So part of the thing is then, as you were graduating from Perkins, we started having these conversations, and Bishop McKee said to us, we have this young man, we'd like to come out and spend some time with y'all and think about being here. And so Bryant came on to our staff, and I forget, titles are always kind of a weird thing.
Minister in residence.
Is that what we called you? Was minister in residence?
I was just living here.
Okay, I didn't remember what it was. It was something crazy, but what we always do, of course, when somebody's come on, I said to Bryant, hey man, what I want you to do is I'm going to write an article about you coming on to the staff, and I need a picture. Can you send me a picture? Do you remember what picture you sent me?
No, what I sent.
Oh yeah, you know what picture you sent me. This is one of my favorite pictures of Bryant Phelps right here. This is just one of my favorite. On that Morehouse card, what did it say?
Well dressed.
Well dressed. And you always, one of the things I always loved about you is that when you and I go to church, we still live out of the tradition of you get dressed up to go to church, right? So it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
And so when you sent me this picture, I thought, yeah, this is going to work out. And I guess it was something, probably a picture like this, because the next picture is a picture. If you guys don't know Courtney, this is you and Courtney, right? Yeah. And was that taken same time?
Same place.
You just
same
put
time.
it, just put a tie on there.
I just took the tie off and put that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it turned out great.
Yeah.
But you and Courtney have been married a while now.
Yes.
How long?
10 years this year.
10 years this year. Yeah, yes. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Where did you get married? Where did you get married?
In Dallas.
In Dallas? Yeah. Where?
Oh gosh, I remember the day.
Well, come on, you got to remember where, Bryant.
Oh gosh, it was.
Is your anniversary coming up?
No, it was in May the 24th.
Okay, so you've already been through this. Okay, I didn't want you to.
Gosh, where was that?
Set you up for failure here. I don't.
It was a golf club somewhere up here.
A golf club somewhere up here.
Guys,
Wow.
Bear with me. Don't tell Courtney.
That's right. Your daughter's gonna love this when you someday when Daddy, tell me about your wedding.
I remember the day.
She won't know anything about it. So you came here and you started doing ministry here. I don't know. Preston, we have a picture of Bryant in action. Yeah, there's Bryant here at Grace Avenue, and met a lot of people, and we had a great year. You were only here for a year, but what a great year it was. And,
Indeed it was.
You know, and part of what began to happen, we've already showed one picture, but I started worrying. This is when I started worrying about you, because you started hanging out with different people like this. These characters are just people that, you know, but good friendships were made here.
Indeed.
You worked. So remind me of some of the people you remember on staff when you were here for that year.
Oh gosh, everybody. Marcus, of course, Joe, Lori, Kristen, all of you.
Yeah, whole crowd.
Bill.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah. Laura Eccles Richter, you remember her?
Of course. Where is she?
Well, so that's so again, to answer first, what do you remember about working with Laura Eccles Richter? What I love about her not being here. Go ahead. What do you remember about working with her?
All the details.
Oh yeah.
All the details.
Yeah, all the details. Well,
Yeah.
one of the details right now is that Laura Eccles Richter, I haven't seen her in like 3 days because she has COVID.
Oh,
and
gosh.
so she's locked up in a room. I've been leaving
We're praying for you.
Leaving things
Where's
outside
the
her
camera?
door like she's some kind of thing. But you spent a year, and then after that, you received an appointment, went down to DeSoto. To a church that you actually did a lot of work with to rebrand. When you went there, it was Church of the Disciple. And I think we have a picture of Church of the Disciple because you were still hanging out with
that was
all
our
kinds
birthday.
of
Was it our birthday?
odd people. But tell me about how you went about rebranding Church of the Disciple.
So, Church of the Disciple was founded in 1993. And DeSoto at that time, demographically, was predominantly Anglo. And by 2004, white flight really determined where DeSoto went and how it was living. And so around 2003, 2004, Church of the Disciple was nearing closure. And since then, of course, it became a predominantly African American church. And by the time I got there, we weren't the only disciple in town. There was a much larger church with a similar name. So when folks would come to the church, they were expecting to be at the other disciple.
The other disciple church.
They were at a United Methodist church. And so throughout the week, we would get calls for this particular church in DeSoto. So it was kind of upon us that we needed to think about branding, thinking about who the church was and is at that moment. And so we went through about maybe 3 years of discernment as to what do we do with this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And came out on the other side with
Came out on the other
beautiful
side.
new vision of what that church could be and the different things that were there. So, yeah. So this picture was made one day when I went out to see Bryant, and there was a reason I came out to see you that day. Do you remember why?
Oh, because it was our birthday.
Yeah, Bryant Phelps and I share the same birthday. Do you know that prior to knowing you, I had never had a friend, really never even an acquaintance I had known that had shared December the 13th as a birthday. So we are,
We're birthday twins.
We are birthday twins, yes. Just in, in different parts of the country, born on the exact same day, right?
Indeed. just not the same.
Just not the same,
year.
the same year. Yeah, not at all the same year. So there is one famous soul who shares our birthday. Do you know who that is?
Dick Van Dyke.
Does he really?
Yeah, I thought
That's not who I was thinking about. What are you back with Bill Roberts and Doc Severinsen and all that? No, you don't know who shares our birthday?
Who?
Anybody know? Taylor Swift
God,
shares our
yes.
birthday. That's exactly right.
God
December the
forgive me.
13th.
Yes, Taylor Swift.
Swift's birthday. So
Indeed.
little does she know.
Yeah.
Which is too bad
Right.
for her. So.
The honor is all hers.
That's exactly right. In this day and age, that's exactly right. Well, Bryant, you've been doing amazing things. So let's see a picture of how it's going. This, I think, is a couple of years ago, but still, this is your family now.
Uh-huh.
There is you and Courtney and Haley at the pumpkin patch at the Arboretum, I think.
Indeed.
So, yeah. So she's a little older now, but this is kind of how it's going now, huh?
That's kind of how it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have any hair left.
Well, welcome to the club. Something about being born on December 13th, maybe. I don't know. And then more recently, here you are. This, I think, was your first Sunday at Hamilton Park just a couple weeks ago, yeah?
3 weeks ago.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's wonderful to see how well you're doing and how great everything is. And I am so excited about what you're going to be doing all across North Dallas, because I think you are going to set the tone for a brand new era out in that area and in that mission field. And we're grateful for the time we've had together, and grateful for your friendship and everything that's here. So it's good to be together. So thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
So my next guest tonight that we're going to bring out, say thank you to Bryant. I'm going to talk to him, and then we're going to have a little time to let you guys talk together. Our next guest tonight is the pastor of the Ridgewood Park. Did I get that right?
All the parks.
Ridgewood Park. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that in a second, too. Ridgewood Park United Methodist Church, and he is with us tonight. We're so thrilled to welcome the Reverend Alex Williams. So would you welcome Alex? Right, I'm going to move you over one.
I was looking forward to being on the end.
Yeah, well, sorry.
That's why you're the chair.
Yeah,
No.
That's exactly right. How are
Not in this
you?
room. I'm good.
Yeah, things okay at your life?
Things are going well. They're very hectic, but
Yeah.
they're going well.
What's most hectic in your life right now?
3 children under the age of 8.
Yeah,
A lot of screaming in my house.
yeah. Who's in charge?
Margot, the youngest,
How old is she?
she'll be 3 at the end of August.
3. Wow, 3 at the end of August.
She's crazy.
Yeah, one of my grandchildren is named Margaret, and I can vouch that apparently that name goes with the crazy one. That's
Yeah, her
just-
name's Margot, but we call her Margaret for short.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, they call my granddaughter Marge, is what they just kind of one of those things.
Her actual nickname is Go-Go, and
Yeah.
she Go-Goes.
Yeah.
She's very active. So she's in charge. She's adorable. She's cute, and she knows it.
So what's the great thing going on at Ridgewood Park these days?
We're celebrating 70 years
70?
this year.
Wow.
Yeah, we were started in 1954, just right around the same time. Our churches are like 5 miles from each other,
not
so
that far.
we're right next to each other. So that's the big thing, is kind of ramping up for that. And we're also doing some big projects. We did a capital campaign a year ago for some maintenance and updates. So I was actually sitting next to Jeff Smith. I was thinking about you all day. The last 2 days, I've been building an AV booth in the back of our sanctuary. So I sit there and get into some troubles, and I think, what would Jeff do? How can I fix this? So yeah, just put in a lot of projects and things like that. But the big thing this year is 70 years.
Yeah. So the big thing here is 25 years. So you mentioned building the AV, but you've got a little construction experience, yes?
Not professionally.
Yeah?
But yeah, amateurly.
You've always
in a
liked the
hobby.
DIY kind of thing?
Yeah, I do. A lot of trial and error, a lot of projects that are half finished and work-ish, and then I got a lot of experience, building and fixing things, working at a church plant.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're doing our best. I'm not doing it alone, but there's 2 of us who know just enough to not hurt ourselves. But we're getting through it.
Getting through it. So as I talked to Bryant earlier, I asked you too, Alex, a little bit about, obviously we live in this great world where people can see your fine work anytime they would like. So if somebody wanted to go out and hear you preach, besides coming to your normal worship service, where would they find you online?
rpumc.org is our website, and we're on all the social medias. So,
Ridgewood Park. Yeah.
yep, that's where we are.
It's a good kind of thing. And both of you realize that you guys, apparently our protocol that we didn't know is that we send everybody to a park. We sent Marcus to Plymouth Park. We sent Joe to University Park. We sent Bryant to Hamilton Park, and you're at Ridgewood Park.
Yeah, my wife also now works at University
She
Park
does,
too with
yeah.
Joe. So
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
another Grace Avenue.
Yeah, no, yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. So the people that are on staff here are nervous because there's only a couple of parks left. Are you familiar with the two parks that are left?
I mean, Highland Park, I know.
That would be Highland Park, yes. That would
There's
be
one out in the country, isn't there?
Iowa Park, yes, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that you know we're about to have this new big conference. There's no telling how many other parks are out there, but you're at the wonderful places you can be. All right, so Alex, let's take a moment and go through sort of your brief history of how it got started and how it's going now. I don't want to go back as far as it actually could go because you went to undergraduate school at
Texas A&M.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, one of my first connections with you was you did not go to Perkins. You went to
Garrett in Chicago.
In Chicago, and I think we have a picture of that. Look at that guy
Oh,
graduating from Garrett.
Yeah, with Emma.
And you were there with Emma, right?
Yeah, we met in seminary.
You met at seminary, and where was Emma from?
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport, Louisiana, and she was in school at Garrett as well.
Yeah, she just finished. So we're the same age, but I worked for a little bit before school. So she was in her last year, and I was in my first year when we met.
Okay.
And then she stayed. She didn't have a real solid plan afterwards, so she stayed in Chicago for a couple of years with us. And
you were her plan.
it turned into that, which was a
Wow.
lot of pressure. But yeah, no, she stayed for a couple of years, and then we got married before our last year of school, before we came to Dallas.
And then after you finished there, both of you came back here.
We did, yeah. We're not from Dallas, but we wanted to pick a location, and Dallas just worked out. We had family. My sister lives here, and we knew some people, and it was kind of halfway. I went to high school in Austin, and so my parents still lived in Austin at the time. So Dallas was kind of 3 hours in between all the family, and my sister was here. We knew some people at some local churches that would, let us join and start the process. So we picked Dallas.
Yep. Obviously, you picked Dallas because you came back and
Here we
you
are.
became Ranger fans, I think. Let's see.
We did.
Where's it? There it is. Look at this.
yeah.
Aren't they cute? Now, part of the reason I want to show this picture is because as we make this journey with you through, you have a propensity and maybe some of the best ability I have ever known for growing facial hair.
Oh, it comes and it goes. It's changing colors too.
Is that right?
It's mostly white now.
Yeah. But when's the first time you really tried to grow some real facial hair?
Oh, in college.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was a worship leader, and I did that all through college as well. And it's when David Crowder was first getting started, and he had this big, ugly goatee, which at the time I thought was the coolest thing in the world. And I wasn't allowed to have facial hair in high school because I played football. So as soon as I graduated, I started growing this big, hideous goatee. I mean, it was long. There was no mustache. It was bad. So that was my first experience, but then I've had beards and mustaches and all manner of facial hair.
Yeah.
I get restless. So.
I understand. So before you came here and you'd graduated from seminary, and then you were in the process of starting ordained ministry. So the reality of it was, before you were ever connected to Grace Avenue, you were connected to me.
Yeah.
Right. And tell people about how you got to know me.
So when or at least at the time, you have to have a clergy mentor. And so as you're going through residency, they'll usually just assign you someone, but they say, if you know someone or have somebody in mind. Well, I didn't really know anybody, but I just went through the list of I don't know if I told you this, I went through the list of the Board of Ordained Ministry officers, and I just picked the most powerful people, and I wrote their names down because I figured they would know the most, and you were the chair of P&Q at the time, the chair of that board, and so that's how I got connected with you, is I just wanted whoever had the most power, I thought was going to help me the most in the room.
Then you came here and worked with us, and you found out, boy, was I ever wrong about that? So, so Alex and I, we had a wonderful year because now the interesting thing about it was you were serving in Duncanville. Yeah, so part of the deal is that we met on a regular basis, but whenever we would meet, because you were so far away, we would kind of just block out 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
In a whole morning, and I went down there a couple times and had a great experience getting to know your ministry and knowing folks that were down there, and it was all part and parcel of that whole thing. And so Alex and I knew each other. So then Alex was ordained, and I had the joy of being a part of his ordination, and that was a great night, and I think there's another great picture. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, as we go to the next picture, is Emma is also an ordained clergy person. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, say a little bit about that.
So Emma and I met in seminary, and she at the time was thinking about being a professor or working in advocacy, or she wasn't totally sure. We moved to Dallas, and she didn't start her ordination journey right away just because she was planning on becoming a deacon, and so her employment wasn't as tied to that as mine was.
Okay.
So she got ordained a few years after I did, but she is an ordained deacon, so that's the night that I got ordained and she got commissioned.
Yeah,
so that
she was
happened in
commissioned the night you were ordained, yeah.
the same service.
Yeah.
And so she has worked in various places. She worked at Wesley Rankin for a while. She was on the conference staff until about a year and a half ago. She joined Joe Stobaugh at University Park and is the executive pastor there at
Yeah.
University Park.
So she works now as an executive pastor. Mm-hmm. Can I make a recommendation to you?
Sure.
Don't ever choose your spouse to be your executive pastor. So that has all kinds of different aspects to go along with it. No, so clergy couple, all kinds of things that go along with being a clergy couple at two different churches, and the kind of fun stuff that happens with all that. But it's been great because you guys started having kids.
We did.
Yeah, and I think we have a picture of this. I want to ask you a particular picture about this. This was before your first child.
Yes.
That was quite a while ago. How old is your oldest now?
7.
7, okay. So this was probably 8 years ago or so. And what's noticeable in this picture is that you guys are Blackhawk fans?
Well, yeah. So we got into hockey when we lived in Chicago.
Sure.
We weren't hockey fans before.
Yeah.
But when we went there, they won the Stanley Cup 3 times in like 5 years.
Oh, sure.
And so we watched them win the Stanley Cup. It's hard not to get caught up in that. Yeah. And so when we came back, they were still doing wonderfully well. So they won in 2015, and this would have been in 2016. So this is a year after they won the Stanley Cup. So we were huge fans. Our dog is named Stanley for that reason. And so that's us with Stanley in our jerseys with our little tiny Blackhawks bib. So since then, that is hard to watch, to see, because the Blackhawks have not finished higher than like 3rd from the bottom since then. They've been just terrible.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Dallas sports have taken off since then.
Well,
so
good. I'm glad you're a Dallas sports fan.
enjoyable.
So I was going to ask
Yeah.
you. So I mean, part of when I went back and saw this picture, I was reminded, and the most recent. I'm a hockey fan, and so I'm familiar with where the Blackhawks have been. So you're an Aggie,
Yes.
and you're a Blackhawks fan.
Sure.
So we should expect your book on the current state of suffering to come out sometime in the next
It's
year.
brutal. Yeah, A&M's bad. My parents are, from Oklahoma and Texas, so we've been Cowboys fans our whole life.
Yeah.
So that's been brutal.
Yeah.
It's not great. I read a lot of Lamentations during the
Let's
year.
go on with it. Well, we were finally fortunate enough. Early in this season, we met Chris Yost, who was the pastor at Crossway United Methodist Church, and then Chris left, and we were fortunate you were appointed to Crossway. I think we have a picture of, this was probably the baton thing that y'all went to with Jim Osier, where we were passing the baton to Chris Yost, to Alex Williams, and Alex came out to be the pastor at Crossway, and then pretty soon after that, we started having real conversation about what it meant to be out in that area and what it was going to take. And so before long, we rebranded Crossway, and it became known as Grace Chapel. And you were working with Courtney Schultz.
Yeah.
And now we have the facial hair.
Well, this is during the pandemic, so also I couldn't get to a barber, so I let it grow for a long time, and then I just shaved it all off because I couldn't deal with it anymore.
Yeah. So both of you have been through churches where there was a rebranding process that went on, and the importance of that and kind of things.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Yeah. Learn from those kinds of things. And then you mentioned that when we went out to Grace Chapel and restarted, you had to do a lot of different things.
Yes.
Jack of all trades.
A little bit.
Let's
Master
see.
of none.
Have a picture of that? Yeah, there you are.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really see the beard in this picture, but boy, you were playing lead guitar or bass.
Yeah, that's when I started the bass. So I picked it up as a hobby and enjoy playing it now. But that was one of the first times that I was playing it.
Yeah.
So it was new.
And you worked with a very rich group of characters out at Grace Chapel. Those folks, here we are right here. So this was, just so everybody knows, this is Ash Wednesday, if you can't tell from the picture.
Yeah, we're not just dirty.
The way things are going all those times. So,
this was basically the last service we did before the pandemic shut everything down. This was February of 2020.
Wow. And then we went in, yeah, and you were there during the pandemic, and then came out on the other side. And then when exactly were you appointed to Ridgewood Park?
2021.
Yep. And if you don't know Ridgewood Park, here's a picture. It's a beautiful church, it's been. You've been there a while now. So.
Yeah, in year 4. That's the sanctuary. The sanctuary was built 25 years ago, so same time Grace Avenue started. The church itself, they started meeting at a funeral home in 1954, and then they built the original building in 56, and then they built it kind of in phases over those last 70 years. But an interesting thing, if you've ever been out to the Prothero campground, if you go, it's on Lake Texoma, and there's a little chapel area with a cross looking over the lake.
Yeah.
And that cross is the original steeple cross of Ridgewood Park.
It was at Ridgewood Park.
Yeah, it was on the original building, and when they rebuilt it, it didn't work, and so they removed it and donated it to Prothero.
So I didn't use the picture that's here, but on the other side of the building, there's a large, bell tower, Carolyn, kind of thing?
Yes, yeah, there's a large freestanding bell tower on the other side. It used to be where that building is standing, and they had to relocate it when they built it.
Do the bells still play?
Every Sunday.
Do the neighbors hate you?
They come and remind us sometimes when they're not ringing at the right time, but we had to learn how to operate the system because it was ringing at the wrong time, so.
So here's how it's going. Let's see the last picture. This is the end. There they are. This was just this last Easter, I think.
Yeah, that's at University
So
Park.
introduce us to the crowd.
Yeah, so our oldest is on the bottom left, Henry. He was born about 3 months before we got appointed up here to Crossway. Simon was born in 2019. He's our middle child. He's our COVID baby. He was born right before the pandemic hit, so he was kind of raised in isolation.
Yeah.
And then Margot was born in 2021, right after we got to Ridgewood Park.
Right.
And so she is a very precocious, almost 3-year-old.
Right.
And that's
There you
who
are.
we are.
And so was Simon the one? What I remember is that when Emma was going through Board of Ordained Ministry interviews, she was pregnant with Simon or Henry?
Probably 2019. When was she ordained? I was ordained in 17. She was commissioned in 17. So 18, 19. Yeah, so she would have been pregnant with Simon when she was going through ordination interviews.
Okay. All right. Good. So,
They all run. There's 3 of them. I can't remember
that's all right.
anything.
Listen, Bryant doesn't even remember where he had his wedding. So
That's true. Yeah.
It was at a golf club.
You're okay. And did I mention all of this is being recorded? It's great to see
The
all of you
food
tonight.
was
So
there.
you
Yeah.
kind of see those things. All right, gentlemen. So really, first thing I want to say is how proud we are of the work that you guys are doing. And to know you guys as colleagues has just been one of the great joys of my life, and to continue to have that opportunity. But we've got an interesting future that's ahead of us, right? So this has been a busy year. We had General Conference and lots of things happening there. We're about to be a new unified conference. Bryant, we could all be appointed back in Midland, back in West Texas now. So
Praise
I don't know
God.
if you considered all that. But let's start with the first thing. Tell me y'all's perspective right now about what you think's happening in the United Methodist Church and where you see us going in the next few years.
He's our chair. Go ahead.
Brian and I are on a committee together. So. I am thankful that I feel like we're in a season where we can have more going on than just the fight. I feel like every time we got together for General Conference, jurisdictional everything was about, are we going to split up? What's the next conference going to bring? And our problems are not solved by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like we're in a season now where we can have a little hope. We can talk about more than just one fight over and over and over again. And so I sort of feel like to me, all of that is tied very closely to the pandemic, where it just feels like we're in this season of resurrection and renewal and rebirth and revival, all the R words, coming out of it, where just seeing a chance to be the church and lean into what our new reality looks like. And it's been an ugly, hard, painful few years, and our problems definitely aren't solved and behind us, but we've kind of broken through some of that dam. And I think that it just feels like that same season coming out of COVID, where it just feels like there's a lot of possibilities on the horizon.
Yeah. Ditto. But I think also, Alex and I serve on the District Committee on Ministry, and to see folks who felt like they could never live into their calls come through the door to meet with us, great possibility, great hope. The table is expanding, and I think it's just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. So part of that is we say expanding, so our conference is expanding, and so within a few months we're working ever closer towards unification, and our conference is going to be not just 3 times as large as it is now. It's going to be most of the state of Texas, from Austin north as far as we can go out into West Texas, not quite to El Paso, and it's going to be a big area. So what kind of feelings are y'all having about some of that?
Heavy sigh. No, I think it's overwhelming just to think about where we're going. I think it's great, just expanding and meeting new colleagues and making new friends, and for me, the added pleasure of being able to have a reason to go home.
Yeah.
Every now and then. I mean, I don't know how.
You still have family out there?
Very few.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's a great opportunity for us to reimagine our witness, and I don't know if we ever thought our revival would look this way, but here we are. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the new culture emerges from it.
Yeah.
Just because I've been involved in several of our conferences, so I went to high school in what was the Southwest, now the Rio, Texas Conference, and worked on CCYM when I was a kid there. And then I worked for a while in college in the Texas Conference, and then after college I worked in the Central Texas Conference, and that's where I started my candidacy. And so there's different cultures within the conferences. There's different identities and how they do things, and even just how their district committees do. I mean, logistically we do things differently, but just the feeling of each conference is really different. And so I'm interested to see what that turns out to look like, and what from North Texas and those traditions and those norms continue, and what get changed, and what new ones come out of it. And I'm really interested to see. And I think there's a lot of struggles with that. I mean, we're expanding and adding 3 cultures and 3 conferences, and there's going to be a lot of growing pains with that. But I also think that one of the reasons we chose Dallas to move to the North Texas Conference was because it was geographically so small, and knowing that not being from here and being brand new in the appointment system, we could be appointed anywhere. I mean, we didn't have any strings to pull. We didn't know anybody. We had no networks, and so we were a little nervous about going into some of those appointment areas. I grew up in Arizona, where the whole state is not even the full conference, and so we have friends who work in Minnesota, and the appointment area is monstrous. And so we looked at North Texas and said, well, we're likely to be pretty much in the Dallas area. I mean, unless you're in Wichita Falls, I mean, most of the appointments are pretty close to Dallas. Not true, in the horizon, Texas, as we go forward, but with a small geographic conference comes a much more specific cultural identity. And so I think that there's a lot of benefit for us to learn from the more laid-back feeling of Fort Worth and Central Texas, and just some of the different ways that West Texas experiences what it means to be in Texas. I feel like they get left out of I feel like people are like, oh yeah, and then the Panhandle, and they forget about it a lot, which can't feel good if you're from the Panhandle. But I'm interested to see how all of that integrates into what church culture looks like when it's been such a small sliver of, so specific to Dallas.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing I want to say is that both of you are uniquely situated in terms of this moment, because you've both been through churches that went through a rebranding process, right? The culture changed, a need needed to happen, a rebranding process took place, and that's what's happening now. And so part of the thing is your experience in that, I think is going to be very significant in terms of what we're going to be doing in the next 3 years. Our conference, I think, is going to look to people like you and say, okay, you get it. You understand. I think you said the growing pains that go with all of that, the fact that sometimes change is just hard because it's just change. And so I wonder if both of you might just take a moment and say, what have you learned from having to go through a major rebranding process in your ministry? What did you learn? And you know.
One, how to be more patient.
Okay.
In order to get to where we're trying to go, it requires patience, and that patience being manifested in listening. So how long we take to listen, to learn, to be amenable to change. You know, I think even change makers have to be willing to change.
That's funny.
Yeah, often we don't want to change. You know?
Right.
So,
yeah.
But patience and listening for sure, and then clear vision. Where are we going? Where do we want to be? The tragedy of life is not failure, but not having goals to reach. And so if we don't have goals, what are we doing this for? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's kind of three components I've learned to organizational change. I was just reading a book about this. Whether you're changing roles or your organization is changing, and I think being able to identify those, that's one of the things when we were going through that with Crossway that was the most helpful, was identifying what is not going to be a part of the new system we need to let go of, and how do you do that well?
Right.
What are the things that we want to preserve that are wonderful, and what are the new things that we have to learn? And so I think that doing that kind of mapping of the system and understanding what are the pieces of North Texas culture and identity that are not going to be present in the Horizon Texas Conference. How can we celebrate those and not grieve it as a loss? And you have some grief that goes with it, but how do you see that this was great for a season, and know that now there's something new, and be able to let that go? Because holding on to things that's what causes a lot of struggle when you try to make a change. And then what are the great things that we're good at that we can preserve, and then what are the new things we can learn? And I think being self-aware of that, we did that at Crossway, and several of our friends who are here tonight were a part of that, is we asked, like, what are the traditions of Crossway that we love? What are the things we do really well that we want to hold on to? Right. What are the things in ministry that we just don't really have a strong preference for how we do it? You know, this is how we've been doing it, but if there's a new way, whatever. It kind of let us understand what are the things we care about, what are the things that we want to preserve, what are the things we care about that are unhealthy we need help letting go of. But having, I think, some self-awareness of that made the transition so much easier because we knew about it. And a lot of times, and one of my concerns is with just a system this large, if you just kind of barrel into it and try to figure it out as you go, and the pace we're going at is alarming.
Breakneck,
yeah, I worry that we're not doing that work to know what are the strengths of the North Texas Conference we want to preserve, and what are the things that we need to let go of. But that was one of the most helpful pieces when we made that change.
Yeah, the old metaphor about, you know, we're going to be building the plane while we're flying it is really very true in terms of where we are right now. So, okay, hey, let's change gears just for a minute. So let's have some fun here towards the end. Either of you like Stephen Colbert?
Sure.
You like Colbert? Okay, you don't have to say you do if you don't, but that's all right. We've ripped this off from Colbert, and I think it's just kind of a fun thing to do. So you ever done the Colbert questionnaire?
I've never done it,
So
but
we're
I've
going to
seen
find out real quick about the two of you. Just these are rapid answers I want to know.
Okay.
Best sandwich, Bryant.
Ooh, turkey.
Okay.
All the time.
Alex?
I like a French dip.
French dip. Oh, very good. All right. What's one thing that you have in your life or that you own that you really should get rid of? Something you just can't get rid of.
I've got some old computers, and I'm one of the people that has the room full of cables because I might need it one day, or the loose screws and nuts and bolts that I might need it one day, and I'm never gonna need it, but I won't. I can't get rid of it.
What do you got to get? What should you get rid of, Brian?
Old T-shirts.
Old T-shirts?
Yeah, old T-shirts.
Like church T-shirts or just
Yes.
Morehouse T-shirts?
No, old church shirts.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife doesn't know I haven't thrown them away.
We all have, I know, we all have problems. All right. Okay. Scariest animal. What is the scariest animal?
Grizzly bear.
Grizzly bear.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday I came across a possum.
They're mean.
Yes, they are. I don't do possums.
Laura and I had a possum get in our house when we were first married.
Yeah.
They're ugly and mean.
And they hiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possum. Yeah, that's not
Right
bad.
under my car.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Apples or oranges?
Apples.
Apples.
Okay. Name a famous person that you've asked for their autograph.
Oh, Aretha Franklin.
Really? You have Aretha Franklin's autograph? Wow.
No, I have a picture with her though.
Wow.
Yeah, she was trying to get out of the chapel.
I'm always amazed at the pictures you have of people. You've made pictures of a lot of famous people.
If I can't get their autograph, I'll get a picture.
Crazy. You autograph?
I don't think I've ever asked anyone for their autograph.
Never. No. Just waiting for the very right one, huh?
I don't know. I've not really come across famous people very often.
All right. What's your favorite action movie?
Columbiana.
I don't know. I mean, right now, because the sequel's coming out, I want to say Twister. I don't know if that's an action movie, but I really like Independence Day.
Independence Day. Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good. All right. What's the most used app on your phone? What's the app that you use the most on your phone?
Oh, Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, probably Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right.
a
So
tie.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
But why Instagram?
It's a never-ending scroll. I mean, it just sucks you in. We send this. I've learned, and this is a generational thing. But the primary way that I communicate with a lot of my friends I don't live near is we just send videos back and forth to
On
each
it,
other.
yeah, absolutely,
So I mean,
all day.
there are people I went to college with who every day we're sending funny videos back and forth. I haven't talked to them in years,
I
but
talk to
every
'em every
day I
day.
send them messages. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So do you guys get every week? I get the weekly report on screen time.
On
Do you-
Sunday
On
morning.
Sunday
Every
On
Sunday morning. That's exactly right. I'm standing up to preach in the first service, and all of a sudden it's and it's this thing that says
your weekly
your
report.
screen time is up 30% this week.
32%. Yeah, something like that.
I was preaching a sermon on like self-care and unplugging and trying to tend to your mental health, and I got that notification. It was like, your screen time was up 25% last week. It's like, oh no, I have become my own worst enemy.
All right. You can only listen to one song for the rest of your life. What's the one song you're listening to?
I'm gonna say Bohemian Rhapsody because it's like 3 different songs in one. So get a little genre shift in the middle.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh gosh. Let's go with Frankie Beverly and Maze Before I Let Go. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, so what number am I thinking of?
Well, I already know because I watched the one with Marcus and
25.
Joe.
There you go. Very good. Thanks for watching the previous episode. All right, but that leads to the last thing. It's not part of the questionnaire, but it is the one you guys have been great because I didn't prep you on any of these other questions, but I did prep you for these final 2.
Okay.
What's your one enduring memory of Grace Avenue?
I did a study on Amos and King, Dr. King. Had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. Okay, you just, Yep.
That was
I
fun.
remember that. I think we did it in this room, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex?
I'm sorry. Could you hear that? Amos and Dr. King. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's one of my memories. I have a few.
Alex?
When you sent this, 2 immediately came to mind. The first one was kind of our first big win. We did Easter service the first couple of years at Braswell High School.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something big, and so it wasn't until we became Grace Chapel that we ever did Easter in the building, since I was there. But we had a service in the Performing Arts Center. We rented it out, and it was great. We had like twice as many people come and show up, and it's a lot to pull off an event like that, which I was not prepared for. But it was fantastic, and so that was a really big win that I remember. But by far, the most enduring memory is when we finally closed on a piece of property and looking for a permanent home for the church, which we'd been doing. I mean, we closed on the piece of property 9 years after Grace Avenue and Chris Yost started Crossway. And so, and we came close several times on land, and every time the price was higher and higher and higher, and it's hundreds of thousands and then it's millions of dollars to find land. And I remember I found an old briefcase that Chris Yost left that had like a land contract for a piece of land across the street from where the current building is.
Yeah.
It was I think like $300,000. And I called Chris and I said, you had a piece of property for $300,000 and you didn't buy it? So anyway, it was just the headaches of trying to find land and how we couldn't. But when we finally closed on those 10 acres on 1385, where the building's almost done, I'm very excited about that. Can't wait for that. But we had a big blessing of the land. I mean, y'all were there, and we did that whole ceremony. But before that, we put the sign up. The contractor put the sign up on the land, and I was out there by myself one day, and it was this very spiritual moment. And I had this. I'm not a very emotional person, but I kind of broke down looking at this sign because it was just years and years and years of work, and we didn't know how we were going to pay for it. The pandemic had just hit. So we're in COVID, we're not having in-person services, we don't even know how we're going to pay our bills at the end of the month, much less millions of dollars for this new building. But I had never felt a closer connection to him standing on the promises than standing on that land where I felt like this is the fulfillment of, and you read that in scripture all the time, where it's like, this is the fulfillment of the prophecy, and this is the fulfillment of generations of work, and those were always just words for me before, but standing on that land, there in the morning, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm standing there in the mud, just looking at this piece of dirt, and it was just kind of like, we did it, and it was ours, and the promise was fulfilled, and so that was definitely the best moment.
Yeah.
So, being connected to the Grace Avenue system, what's one thing you carry around with you? You talked earlier about culture and some of those things what got ingrained in you here that you still use today?
Teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're building a team, you said to me earlier tonight at Hamilton Park?
Yeah, happened Thursday, thank God. But no, teamwork, the value of strategizing and working as a team. I had not seen that until I lived it here. And so I appreciated that, and that's what I take with me.
It's awesome. Alex?
From Grace Chapel, it's don't give up. There were so many times along the way where we wanted to give up because it was just so hard. Church planting is so hard. But don't give up because God will come through. When I think about Grace Avenue as a whole, when we re-merged with Grace Avenue and became Grace Chapel, we adopted all of the mission and vision statement and just a lot of the cultural norms that some were already similar and some had kind of drifted as Crossway had developed its own identity. But we took on the whole everyone deserves a home, a spiritual home, an emotional home, and a physical home. And that resonated so well with our mission field because nobody's from here. I mean, now people have lived here for a while, but on the 380 corridor, Prosper, Aubrey, wherever you were, everybody moving in was moving in from California or Houston or Florida or Fort Worth or Oklahoma. And so no one was from there. They didn't know anyone. They moved there for a job. And so nobody had home. No one had a sense of home in any way. And so I really underestimated, because I've been in churches that had mission statements before, and they'd be on a wall somewhere and nobody knew what they were. But this was so ingrained that every Sunday we would say it, and just like y'all do, and it was immediately evident that resonated with people, and it helped guide and direct everything we did. And so I always knew there was power in a good vision, a good identity, but that was really the first time I had experienced, if you pick the right vision, if you pick the right identity that resonates with people, it does a lot of the work for you. And so that was really something I've kept. And when I got to Ridgewood Park, they didn't really have a mission statement, so we wrote one.
That's great. Listen, again, I want to tell you guys how much we appreciate you, how much we love you guys. We have a small token for you. It's very small, but here's your gift bag for tonight. Let's see. That one says Alex, so that one's yours. And this one says Bryant, so this one is yours. Thank you. You're asking, what's in this marvelous gift bag? Well, it's all the swag from our 25th anniversary. So there's a baseball hat, and there's a shirt, and there's I think a tumbler in there or whatever. So
yeah, I think I lost my 20th anniversary.
Well, there you go. So you lost. Now you have a new one. You can be able to pull that out and be able to do that. But listen, we want you to know how much we appreciate you guys, love you guys. Just as we talked the last few minutes about some of the impact that Grace Avenue has had on you, we want you to know what an impact you've had on us, and it's always a good thing. One of the things that I wanted to do, and we've done in a marvelous way, has been able to celebrate the fact that ministry is about people, And if it weren't for people like you coming through, we would not have the ministry that we have today. So would you say thank you to Bryant Phelps and to Alex Williams for all that they have been able to do? Yes. See, you're getting standing ovation. That's an awesome. You're the first guys to get a standing ovation. So, yeah. So this concludes the time that we have together for our reunion shows. I look forward to maybe having a reunion show in another 5 years or 10 years, and we'll all be back. We'll see what color your beard is then, Alex. We'll have a good time with all that. I do want to pause, though, and say a quick word of appreciation. The people here tonight, a lot of them in these 25th anniversary t-shirts are part of our 25th anniversary committee. And I just want to say a special thank you. They have been here, they've been setting up, they've been doing all the great things and organizing this. And when I said I wanted to do this in this way, they went right along with it. And so I want to say a word of appreciation. Would you say thank you to our 25th anniversary committee for the work that they've been doing, planning all of these good things that are going up. All right, the birthday month is almost here. Next Sunday, it is Easter. Every Sunday in August, tell your friends and tell them I'm going to be there and bring them along with you. I hope this will also be a homecoming month, that you've got some friends maybe that have sort of drifted away from the church for a while. Tell them this is the month they need to come home. This is Ollie Ollie Oxen Free. Everybody come home, and we're going to have a wonderful time. It's going to be a time full of great memories. But even as we've talked tonight, it's going to be a night, it's going to be a month to look forward and to be blessed by all the things that God is going to call us to in the next 25 years. So thanks for being with us tonight. God bless you. Thank you. Good evening.